The human bowed his head slightly, his voice strong and unshaken. "I did not bind myself for power. I did not come to steal. I gave because it was right. I will never betray her. If she stands, I stand with her. If she falls, then I will fall." Beside her, the princess's lips trembled into a faint smile, her hand reaching weakly toward him, though her body still fought the changes. Her spirit burned bright. "I believe him," she whispered. "He carries no deceit. His heart is clear." The healers exchanged uneasy glances. "Her strength grows faster than expected," one murmured. "The bond is feeding her life." "His blood is more than survival, it is transformation." The glow beneath her skin brightened, spreading through her veins like fire. But not everyone saw hope. The royal advisor snarled, his voice shaking with anger. "This is not salvation, it is invasion. This human will become our doom. The people will never accept a princess who carries alien blood. They will see her as broken, unworthy." The emperor's jaw clenched. His duty as ruler pulled against his love as a father. His people demanded purity, tradition, strength. Yet his daughter, the very heart of the empire, was now something different. Something unthinkable. The human warrior stepped forward, his shadow long under the glowing light. His voice carried steady power. "Then let them see. Let them see that life is greater than blood. That courage is greater than fear. If they reject her, they reject their future." His words echoed in the chamber, striking deep into every ear. The princess's glow pulsed again. And for a moment, the room shook as if the very walls felt her awakening. She sat up slowly, her eyes burning brighter than ever. She no longer looked weak or dying. She looked powerful, reborn. Her voice rang out. "I am still your princess. I am still the jewel of the stars. I carry his blood, but I am not less, I am more. You will not fear me. You will follow me." The chamber fell silent. The courtiers bowed their heads, torn between loyalty and fear. The emperor's chest rose and fell heavily. His daughter lived, stronger than before, but bound to a human, bound to a future no one could predict. The human warrior looked at her, his expression unreadable, but his heart pounded with the truth. He had given his blood to save her life, but in doing so, he had changed her destiny and his own forever. And somewhere deep within the palace, shadows stirred, for not everyone would accept this bond. And dark forces waited to strike at the empire's new weakness. The alien palace stood in uneasy silence, though the princess had risen and her life had been restored. Fear still clung to the air like smoke. She was alive, yes, but she was not the same princess her people had once known. Her veins glowed with human blood, her spirit tied to a warrior from another world. To the empire, this was both a miracle and a curse. The emperor walked slowly to her side, his golden armor reflecting her strange new glow. He looked into her silver-warm eyes and spoke with the heavy voice of a ruler and a father. "You live, my child, but the empire whispers, they fear you. They question if you are still their princess. Tell me, what do you say to them?" The princess straightened, though her body still trembled with the weight of her transformation. Her voice, however, was strong. "I am still your princess. I am still the jewel of the stars. My blood is changed, yes, but my heart is still for my people. I will protect them as I always have." She looked at the human warrior beside her, her lips firm with resolve. "And I will not hide the truth. I live because of him. His blood runs through me. We are bound, and I will not deny it." The chamber erupted with cries. Some courtiers knelt in respect, moved by her courage. Others shouted angrily, demanding she be stripped of her title. The royal advisor stepped forward, venom in his voice. "This is the end of our empire. The people will never accept this corruption. If you cling to her, rebellion will rise. armies will march against you." Before the emperor could respond, the great doors of the chamber burst open. Soldiers rushed in, their armor scratched from battle. "My lord," one shouted, his voice urgent, "the enemy is here. They attack the city. They claim the sickness of the princess was their doing, and now they come to finish what they started." Gasps filled the hall. The emperor's face darkened. He knew well who it was, the rival alien race. The sworn enemies who had long coveted his throne. They had poisoned his daughter in secret, and now they came to break the empire in open war. The princess gripped the edge of her bed, her glowing veins pulsing brighter. "So it was them," she whispered. "They sought to kill me, but I live, and I will not hide." She pushed herself to her feet, though the healers cried out in fear. "Rest, my lady, your body is not ready." But she ignored them, her gaze fixed with fire. "My body is stronger than it has ever been. I will fight." The emperor turned to the human warrior, his eyes sharp. "You gave her your blood, you tied yourself to her fate. Now prove your worth. Stand with her or fall with her." The human placed his hand on his chest, bowing slightly. His voice was steady as iron. "I will stand with her. I will fight until the last breath." "Her battle is mine now," the royal advisor snarled. "You cannot allow this, my emperor. To let her fight with a human at her side will destroy us. Better she remain hidden. Better she—" His words cut short as the princess raised her hand. Her glow flared, and with a voice that shook the chamber, she declared, "Silence. I am not broken. I am not cursed. I am your princess. And I will lead. If you doubt me, then stand aside. For history will not remember cowards." The chamber trembled at her words. The emperor's chest swelled with pride and dread. For the first time, he saw not just his daughter, but a queen. Rising before his eyes, he turned to the court and roared, "The enemy comes to end us, but they will see our jewel reborn. They will see a human and an alien stand together." The human stepped to the princess's side, his hand resting lightly on his weapon. Their bond pulsed between them, silent yet unbreakable. He could feel her strength flow into him, and she could feel his calm steady her heart. They were no longer two, they were one, outside. The skies of the empire burned with fire as enemy ships descended. Their voices echoed across the stars, declaring the end of the royal line. But in the palace stood the living proof of defiance, a princess reborn through unthinkable sacrifice, and a human warrior bound to her by blood. As they stepped forward together, the court parted in silence, fear and awe in their eyes. None could deny the truth. The fate of the empire now rested on the bond of two beings who should never have been joined. The princess raised her glowing hand, her voice fierce and unyielding. "Let them come. Let them see what their poison has created. We are not weaker. We are stronger. Together we will break them." The human's eyes narrowed, his voice calm but deadly. "And when this battle is done, they will remember that humanity does not bow. Humanity saves." The chamber roared with energy as soldiers raised their weapons, the empire ready to fight once more. Yet deep in every heart was the same burning question. Was this the dawn of salvation, or the beginning of something far more dangerous? And so, as war thundered outside the palace, the bond of blood and destiny stood at the center, unshakable, unthinkable, unstoppable. The princess tried to sit up, her body weak but alive, her eyes locked on her father, and her voice, though trembling, carried strength. "Father, do not blame him. His blood, it saved me. Without him, I would be gone. Do not turn life into shame." Her words silenced even the loudest voices. Her spirit, though fragile, still carried the command of a ruler. The emperor's face tightened, his pride warred with his love, but in the end, he lowered his head slightly. "You live, and that is enough." His words carried both relief and burden. But even as he spoke, the glow beneath her skin pulsed. Again, stronger this time. Her body trembled as if caught between two forces. The healers rushed to her side, fear on their faces. Her body is adapting still. One cried, "The blood is not finished." The chamber shook with dread and awe. The human warrior clenched his fists, his voice calm but firm. "Then she must fight. And I will fight with her. Our fates are now bound." His words carried across the chamber, echoing like an oath. The emperor stared at him, his eyes heavy with both respect and unease. For he now realized that the blood offering was not only a gift of life, but a chain of destiny, one that tied his daughter and his empire to a human forever. The chamber was filled with a heavy silence. Everyone's eyes remained on the alien princess as she lay upon the silver bed. Her skin shimmered faintly with strange patterns of light, blue and red flowing like rivers beneath the surface. The glow pulsed softly with each breath, showing that life had returned to her body. The emperor stood frozen, unable to turn his gaze away. For so many nights he had watched her fade, slipping further and further from his reach. Now, before him, she was breathing strong again. The sight should have filled him with joy, yet his heart carried a weight heavier than ever. His daughter lived, but she was no longer only alien. She was something new. The council whispered from the shadows of the chamber, their words sharp with fear. "She is no longer one of us," one muttered. "Her blood is tainted," another hissed. The royal advisor's eyes gleamed with malice as he stepped forward, his voice rising so all could hear. "This is no miracle. This is a curse, my emperor. Do not be blind. Your daughter is not the same. She is part human now, bound to an outsider. If we accept this, we accept corruption into our bloodline." The human warrior's eyes narrowed, but he did not raise his voice. He stood silently near the princess, his presence calm yet unshakable. He had endured hatred before, the whispers of those who saw him as less. Their fear meant nothing to him. Only the girl on the bed mattered. Her fragile breaths, her faint glow, her survival, that was all he cared for. Suddenly, the princess stirred. Her fingers twitched, curling slightly as her eyelids fluttered. Open, a weak breath escaped her lips, and then her eyes slowly opened. They glowed faintly with a strange blend of silver and warmth. Not fully alien and not fully human, but something between. Gasps filled the room as the courtiers stepped back in shock. The jewel of the stars had awakened. Her gaze moved slowly, confusion clouding her expression as she took in the sight of the healers, the council, her father, and finally the human warrior. For a long moment, her eyes lingered on him, and though her voice trembled, she spoke. "You are not one of us, yet I feel you near me." "Why?" The human lowered his head slightly. His voice was soft but steady. "Because I gave what I could. Your life was fading. I gave you my blood. You live now because of it." Whispers erupted across the chamber. Some shouted that it was true. Others cried out that it was blasphemy. But the princess silenced them with a single weak raise of her hand. Her eyes locked on her father. "He saved me. Father, do not deny it. Do not cast away life for pride." The emperor's throat tightened. His daughter's voice, though weak, carried the authority of truth. He could not deny what he had seen with his own eyes. She lived because of the human, that was undeniable. Yet the thought of his empire bowing to a human savior filled him with unease. Before he could speak, the princess gasped sharply. Her body trembled as the glow beneath her skin surged. The healers rushed forward, their hands glowing with energy as they tried to steady her. But instead of fading, her strength seemed to grow. The glowing lines spread wider across her arms. Her chest, her neck, her eyes shone brighter, not with weakness, but with power. She is changing," one healer whispered in awe. The blood is not only keeping her alive, is awakening something within her. Another healer stammered. Her pulse is stronger than any royal bloodline has ever shown. She is more than she was. The courtiers cried out in fear. Some fled from the chamber, covering their faces. Others fell to their knees, bowing before her glow. The royal advisor shouted above them all, "This is unnatural. She is no longer our princess. She is a hybrid, a danger. If we allow this, she may destroy us all." But then, the princess spoke. Again, her voice stronger than before. "No, I am not a danger. I am proof. I live because of him, because of a human. You call it corruption, I call it life." She turned her glowing eyes toward the human, her lips trembling into a faint smile. "We are bound now. My heart beats with his gift." The emperor's eyes widened at her words. A mix of pride and dread tore through him. His people would never accept such a bond easily. But how could he condemn the one who had given his daughter life? He looked at the human, his voice deep and heavy. "Do you understand what this means? Your blood has not only saved her, it has made her more than she was. If she rises, she will rise with you. If she falls, she will fall with you." The human warrior's voice was calm, yet carried iron. "Then I will rise with her, or I will fall with her. I did not give my blood for glory. I gave it because her life mattered. That will not change." The chamber grew silent. The glow from the princess's body filled the room like a soft light. Her strength was returning, her spirit unbroken. Yet with every breath, it became clearer. She was no longer just an alien princess. She was something new, something unthinkable, and though life had returned, so too had questions that could not be ignored. What was she becoming? And what role would the human play in the destiny of an empire that now feared both of them? The chamber still glowed with the strange light of the princess. Her breaths had grown stronger. Her body no longer weak. Instead, she radiated an aura of energy that made even the strongest soldiers shift uneasily. The blue of her alien blood and the red of the human's gift pulsed together, creating something new, something alive with power. The emperor stared at his daughter, torn between pride and fear. He had prayed for her life. Yet now that life carried a cost he had never imagined. She was alive, but changed his counsels. Whispers filled the hall like buzzing insects. "She is not the same." One hissed, "She carries the outsider's blood." Another muttered, "She is bound to him." The princess turned her glowing eyes toward the human warrior. Her gaze lingered on him with a strange intensity. She felt something she could not explain, a pull deep inside her chest. Her voice was soft but clear. "I feel your strength within me. Your blood runs in my veins. I hear you." Gasps filled the room. The healers froze. The council stiffened. Even the emperor's eyes widened. "Hear him?" he demanded, his voice sharp. The princess nodded weakly. "Yes, not in words, but in feeling. His courage, his calm, it moves within me. I know his heart as if it were my own." The human shifted slightly, but his face remained steady. He had felt it too, an invisible thread tying him to her. Every breath she took seemed to echo in his chest. Every flicker of her pulse brushed against his own. He had given his blood. But something greater had been forged, a bond that was neither human nor alien. The royal advisor's face twisted with fury. He stepped forward, pointing a trembling finger at the human. "This is unholy. He has bound himself to her. This was his plan all along. To take our princess, to twist her into his own." His voice rose with venom. "He must die. Kill him now before this bond grows stronger." The chamber erupted with cries. Some courtiers shouted for the human's death. Others fell silent, in awe. But before any could act, the princess raised her hand. her voice cutting through the noise. "No, you will not harm him. He saved me. He is part of me now. If he falls, I fall. If he dies, I die." Her words struck the chamber like a thunderclap. The council fell into silence, fear twisting in their hearts. The emperor's eyes darkened, for now he understood her fate was no longer her own. Her life and the human's life were tied together. The emperor stepped forward, his cloak dragging. Against the floor, his voice was heavy, commanding. "Warrior, do you understand what you have done? You are not only her savior, you are now her bond. Her spirit and yours are linked. If you betray her, if you fail her, you will bring ruin, not only to her, but to my empire." The air inside the healing chamber was thick. Every person inside could feel the weight of destiny pressing down. The princess's body trembled on the floating bed, Kara's skin glowing faintly as the human blood mixed with her alien veins. The healers exchanged nervous glances, their hands moving quickly across strange silver tools. The machines pulsed and hummed, but no one could say for sure what would happen next. The emperor stood like a statue, his fists tight at his sides. His eyes never left his daughter. He had ruled empires, commanded fleets, and crushed rebellions. But here, he was helpless, watching his only child fight for life. The royal council stood behind him, their whispers like sharp knives. "This is wrong," one muttered. "He is poisoning her," said another, yet not one of them dared speak too loudly. For the emperor's wrath was known across the stars. The human warrior remained calm. His arm was still bleeding, crimson drops falling to the floor, but his face showed no pain. He looked only at the princess, his voice steady when he finally spoke. "Her body is trying to reject me. You must give more time. The blood will either heal her or destroy her, but it must be allowed to fight." The chief healer hissed in anger. "You dare command us, outsider? This is royal blood you meddle with. You speak as though you are her guardian." The human met his glare without fear. His voice did not rise, but its strength silenced the room. "If I were not her guardian, I would not be here. I came not to watch her die, but to save her. If you want me gone, then end me now. But no, this you will also end her." A heavy silence followed. The emperor's breathing grew deep. His eyes burned as he looked between his council, his healers, and the human warrior. He knew the truth. No one else had come close to giving his daughter hope. Only this human had done what the empire's greatest minds could not. Still, doubt clouded him. If the human failed, his people would turn against him. The royal line would be shamed, and the empire might crumble. Finally, the emperor's voice rang out, cold and sharp. "Then I will make a bargain." He stepped forward, his cloak dragging across the polished floor. His eyes locked on the human. "If my daughter lives, I will honor you as no human has ever been honored. You will be remembered as the savior of our bloodline. But if she dies, I will not wait for the people's judgment. I will take your life." "Myself," gasps echoed through the chamber. The courtiers trembled for the emperor to speak so openly. To threaten and promise in the same breath meant the stakes were higher than anyone could imagine. The human bowed his head slightly. His voice was calm but firm. "I accept your bargain. I never came here to save myself. I came to save her. If my blood fails her, then let my life pay the price." His words cut through the air like steel. And for the first time, some of the courtiers looked at him not with hatred, but with respect. The emperor studied him, searching for weakness, but all he found was unshaken resolve. He turned back to his daughter. Her breathing had grown steadier, her chest rising more strongly than before. The faintest hint of color returned to her cheeks. It was a fragile hope, but it was hope nonetheless. The chief healer leaned closer to the princess, his eyes widening, her pulse. "It strengthens, but there is something else. The room tensed. Her body is not only stabilized, it is changing. He looked at the Emperor, fear creeping into his voice. She is not fully alien anymore. The human blood. It is fusing with her, creating something new. Whispers erupted through the court. Fear and awe filled the air. Some shouted that it was unholy. Others whispered that it was destiny. The Emperor raised his hand, silencing them again. He looked at his daughter, then at the human. His jaw tightened as he spoke. "What have you done to her?" The human shook his head. "I have done nothing but give her my blood. What happens now is beyond my control. But hear me, Your Highness, a bond is made. Her survival will depend not only on her strength, but on mine. Our lives may now be tied together." The court gasped again. The idea of their princess bound to an outsider was unthinkable. Yet the evidence was before their eyes. The princess's body no longer trembled as violently. Her breathing steadied, but faint, glowing lines began to spread under her skin, tracing across her arms and neck, glowing softly with a mixture of alien blue and human red. The Emperor stared, his heart torn between rage and relief. He had bargained for his daughter's life, and it seemed the human had given it, but at what cost? Would she still be the princess he knew, or something new entirely? The warrior stepped back, his arm bandaged now, his eyes still locked on her. His voice was quiet, almost like a promise. "This is only the beginning. She will live. But nothing will ever be the same again." The Emperor's chest rose and fell heavily. He looked at his daughter, glowing with strange energy. Then back at the human. Finally, he spoke in a voice that shook the chamber. "So be it, you have saved her. But in doing so, you may have changed the fate of the empire." And with those words, the bargain was sealed. The chamber was silent. Except for the soft hum of the alien machines, all eyes were fixed on the princess. Her pale body glowed faintly. Her veins, marked with strange light, a mix of blue and red, shimmered beneath her skin. Proof that the human's blood was now inside her for the first time in days. Her chest rose with steady breaths, but her fate was still uncertain. The Emperor stood unmoving. His golden crown gleamed under the crystal lights, but his eyes betrayed the storm inside him. His daughter lived. Yet she was no longer only his people's child. A part of her now carried the blood of an outsider. He clenched his jaw, torn between relief and fear. The human warrior stood quietly at the side of the bed, his arm bandaged, his body still weak from blood loss. But his eyes never left the princess. He had seen many battles, yet nothing felt as heavy as this moment. On the battlefield, a man's sacrifice was quick, but here, his gift had changed. A life forever. The royal council could not stay silent any longer. They burst into whispers that grew into shouts. "This is not healing, it is corruption." One elder cried, "She is no longer our princess, she is something new." Another snarled, "End this human now, before his poison spreads." There. Voices filled the chamber, echoing off the walls like thunder. The Emperor raised his hand, and silence fell. His voice cut through the air, sharp and cold. "Enough, the bargain is made. Her life is tied to his blood until she lives or dies. He remains." His words silenced even the most defiant of the council. Though their eyes burned with anger, the chief healer leaned over the princess, his long fingers trembling as they touched her skin. The glow beneath her body pulsed like a heartbeat. Stronger with every breath, he whispered in awe. "It is working. Her strength returns. The blood is not killing her, it is reshaping her." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Reshaping. His voice was heavy with warning. The healer bowed his head. "Yes, my lord. Her body is not rejecting the blood. Instead, it accepts it, blends with it. This human blood. It carries something her veins hunger for, something even we do not understand." the human warrior finally spoke, his voice steady. "Do not fear what you do not understand. I did not come to change her. I came to save her. She breathes because of it. Is that not enough?" His words carried calm authority, but the courtiers muttered angrily. Unable to deny what they had seen, they instead turned their fear into suspicion. Suddenly, the princess stirred. Her lips parted as she let out a soft sound. Her eyelids flickered. And then, slowly, they opened. The chamber froze. Her eyes glowed faintly, not the pure color of her race, but a mix of alien silver and human warmth. A collective gasp filled the room. Even the emperor stepped back in shock. The princess's gaze moved weakly across the chamber, then settled on the human warrior. She whispered something, her voice so faint it was almost lost, but he heard it. "Why are you here?" Her words carried confusion, fear, and something else, a strange pull between her and him. The human stepped closer, lowering his head respectfully. His voice was soft but clear. "Because your life mattered. Because I could not let you go." Her eyes trembled, and for a brief moment, there was silence. But that silence was broken when the royal advisor shouted, "She is not herself. Look at her eyes. She is no longer our princess. She carries his blood, his corruption." Panic spread among the nobles. Some cried out in fear. Some demanded the human's execution. Others simply stared in awe, unable to decide if this was salvation or doom. The emperor raised his hand again, but this time his voice wavered. He looked at his daughter, alive yet changed, and he struggled to decide what she had become. His oath bound him if she lived. He must honor the human. But if she was no longer the true princess, what then? The alien palace was silent, but the silence was not peaceful. It was heavy, filled with fear and despair. Servants hurried through long golden halls. Their eyes lowered, soldiers stood stiff, trying to look strong, but even their hands shook. Slightly, everyone in the empire knew the truth. The princess, the only daughter of the emperor, was dying. She had once been the brightest light of the empire. Her voice brought comfort. Her presence gave hope. Her people adored her, calling her the jewel of the stars. But now she lay on a silver bed in the royal chamber, her skin pale, her lips weak. Her chest rose and fell slowly, each breath sounding like a struggle. Alien healers surrounded her, whispering, mixing strange liquids, chanting ancient words, but nothing worked. Every attempt ended in failure, and the hope of her survival faded. With each passing hour, the emperor stood beside his daughter. His golden armor gleamed, but his eyes were red with sleepless nights. He was a ruler who had never shown weakness, yet now he trembled for all his power. For all his armies, he could not save his only child. His people watched and waited, afraid of what would happen if their princess did not live, if the royal bloodline ended. The empire would fall into chaos. Rivals were already waiting in the shadows. In the corner of the chamber, the royal council argued. Some demanded the use of forbidden machines. Others whispered about sacrificing prisoners for experiments. Their voices rose in anger and fear. But the emperor lifted his hand, silencing them. His voice was low and sharp. "Enough, none of this. We'll save her." He turned his gaze back to the princess, who struggled to breathe. Her small fingers twitched as if trying to hold on to life. His heart broke again outside the chamber. The news spread quickly. Markets grew quiet, temples filled with prayers, and soldiers tightened their grips on their weapons. The empire was strong but without hope. Strength meant nothing. Mothers cried. Fathers bowed their heads. Everyone waited for a miracle. And then a whisper began. It started with a servant who had overheard a soldier, and it grew into a storm, the rumor said. There was a human in the city, a warrior who had fought in many battles, a man not of their world. His blood was different, stronger, Some said it could heal, others called it madness. But when there is no hope, even madness can become a chance. The emperor heard this rumor. Late in the night, he sat alone in the dark chamber. His daughter lying weak before him, he thought of the years he had ruled, of the sacrifices he had made, and then he looked at her as child, his only heir. His voice cracked as he whispered to himself, "If there's even a chance, I must try, at dawn." The human warrior was brought into the palace. His steps were heavy on the marble floor. He wore no fine clothes, only scarred armor that told stories of many battles. His eyes were sharp, calm, but tired. He bowed his head slightly, showing respect. The alien court looked at him with suspicion and disgust. Some muttered, calling him outsider and beast. Others laughed quietly, saying this was only a cruel joke. How could a human save their princess when their greatest doctors had failed? But the emperor's voice cut through the noise. If he can save her, he will be honored. If he cannot, then he will pay with his life. The hall grew silent. All eyes turned to the human. But the warrior did not flinch. His voice was steady. As he spoke, "I will give what I can. I will give my blood." The princess lay weak on her bed, her eyelids half closed. She seemed almost gone. Her people waited. Her father prayed. And the human prepared. No one knew what would happen next. Would his blood save her, or would it kill her faster? The air grew heavy, like a storm about to break. And so the story began with a dying princess, a desperate empire, and a human warrior standing before destiny. Asterisk, the great doors of the alien palace opened with a deep echo. The sound carried through the golden halls, making the courtiers fall silent. At the entrance stood the human warrior. His figure was tall, broad-shouldered. His armor scratched and dented from battles long past. He did not look like a man of peace, yet his eyes carried no fear, only calm determination. The alien nobles whispered among themselves, their voices sharp with doubt and anger. "This is madness," one said. "A filthy outsider cannot touch our princess." Another hissed. Yet behind the whispers was also something else: fear. They had watched their healers fail, their machines break, their ancient prayers go unanswered. Now, all that remained was this strange human. 2 alien guards escorted him forward, but they kept their distance as if touching him would stain their honor. The human walked slowly, his heavy boots striking against the marble floor. He looked around, seeing the glittering pillars, the floating lights, the walls carved with alien symbols of power. He knew this was not his world, but he also knew he had a place here. Fate had brought him to this palace, and he was ready. The emperor rose from his throne. His face was like stone, but his eyes burned with both hope and warning. He spoke in a voice that shook the chamber. "You are the human the people whisper of. They say your blood has power. They say you can save my daughter." The human met his gaze and nodded once. His voice was steady. "I do not know if my blood is power. I only know it has healed before. I will give it freely. But I make no promise." A murmur swept through the court. Some laughed bitterly. Some gasped. The royal advisor stepped forward, his robes shimmering with golden threads, his face twisted with anger. "This is dangerous, my emperor. What if his blood corrupts her veins? What if she dies faster? What if this is a plot from humans to poison our royal line?" The court cheered his words, nodding in agreement, but the emperor raised his hand, silencing them. His gaze never left the human warrior. "You understand the risk. If you fail, your life will be taken." The human did not flinch. He simply placed his hand on his chest and bowed his head slightly. "I came here not to live, but to try. If she dies, I will accept my end. If she lives, then perhaps our worlds will no longer stand apart." The princess lay nearby, her body weak, her breath shallow, her once bright eyes closed. She looked more like a ghost than the jewel of the stars. The human's heart tightened as he saw her. She was young, fragile, yet still carried the presence of someone born to rule. He thought of all the lives he had seen fade on battlefields, and he knew this was different. This life meant more than one. Her survival could save an empire. The emperor turned to his council. "Bring the healers, prepare the chamber." His voice carried finality. And no one dared to argue again. Still, the fear lingered in their eyes. The human followed the healers through a side hall, entering a chamber filled with silver instruments and glowing crystals. Strange alien devices hummed with energy. The air smelled of herbs and sharp metal. The princess was placed upon a bed that floated slightly above the ground. Healers surrounded her, their hands glowing with faint light as they monitored her condition. She looked as though she might slip away at any moment. One healer snarled as he looked at the human. "This is foolishness. We place our princess into the hands of a savage." The human ignored him. He removed his gauntlet, revealing a scarred hand. His veins pulsed with strength. His blood, unknown to these aliens, carried secrets even he did not fully understand. The royal advisor leaned close to the emperor and whispered, "If this fails, your people will curse your name." The emperor's jaw tightened. "If I do nothing, my people will lose hope. I would rather risk shame than bury my daughter." The human stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "I am ready." The healers hesitated, their hands shaking. But the emperor nodded, commanding them to begin. A small blade was brought forth. Its edge shimmered. The human held out his arm and cut his skin without a word. Red blood flowed, rich and strong. The healers gasped, for human blood looked unlike theirs, brighter, alive with strange energy. Even the princess's pale body seemed to stir faintly at the sight of it. The human held steady as the blood was drawn. His eyes never leaving the princess, the transfusion began. His blood mixed with alien machines, then entered her veins. The court held its breath. Some looked away, afraid to watch. The emperor stood frozen, his hand gripping the arm of his throne. The human closed his eyes, his lips moving silently, as if in prayer. The princess's body trembled, her chest rising. In a sudden sharp breath, her fingers twitched. The glow of the machines flickered wildly. Healers cried out in shock. Her pulse. "It grows stronger," one whispered. The court erupted into chaos. Shouts of disbelief echoing across the hall. But then her body stilled again. Her eyes remained closed, her breaths weak. Hope rose and fell in an instant. The emperor clenched, his fists torn between fear and faith. The human, still bleeding, lifted his gaze and spoke quietly. "This is only the beginning. She will fight, but it is not over yet." The chamber went silent once more. The fate of the alien princess now hung in the balance, and with it, the future of two worlds.